Alright, I'm going to check out, shoot, and review this PSA Dagger. This is the compact model. It may look a little neato there for you if you haven't seen it in that combination before. They did not sell it this way, so I just kind of configured it the way I wanted. You can get the frame separate, the slide separate, barrel separate, and all that. And they actually do, if you want RMR cut or different cuts or no cut, you can get this lower here with this matching upper, but because I wanted a doctor cut because of an upcoming optic review I need to do, I had to piece it together separately. But anyways, that's what I came up with. I think it looks pretty sweet, but it's just a Palmetto Dagger compact, flat dark earth frame, sniper green slide, and it's the SW3 cuts there, and it's just a standard barrel as well. It's just the copper collar. I think it looks pretty sweet. So as I said, this one's optics cut. So with that, and I think most of these, if not all of them pretty much, you just get these standard blacked out suppressor height sights. So we'll find out when I do the optic review, but I think that's going to give me a 1/3 co-witness. So no dots on those or anything like that. So those are the sights you're looking at. And gee, I don't know, standing back here probably 25-30 yards. I prefer dots for quick acquisition, but I like how small, and I know we couldn't get a focus there. I'll try to show you better up there once we get in the sun. I like that front blade. It's about half the width of what I'm used to with something like with a white dot or like a Glock or M&P or anything like that. It's half the width, so for me that's going to work a little better for precision work. But other than that, obviously these are just your standard blacked out sights there, so a lot of people are going to want to put dots on it or replace the sights or whatever. But anyways, that's what we're dealing with. So it's just a factory Palmetto Dagger, the compact model. I've always wanted to try one out, and like I said, I just configured it the way I wanted it. Nothing, I mean, it looks fancy, I think, but nothing fancy. Standard slide. It's just got the lightning cuts there and pretty basic sights. Nothing other than the collar combo and the slide cuts there. It's just a basic Dagger. I'm just running the PMags here that you get for these, PMag 15 GL9, it looks like it says. So that's what we're running here today, 15 round magazines. This is the ammunition I'll be running, MaxTech 115 grain FMJ. So I'll start out here on the target and see where my point of aim is, see if we need to adjust the sights. And then we'll have fun knocking down some of this steel, and I'll report back with my findings. Just gonna start out about 5 or 6 yards here, see where we're hitting. First thing I'll say is the recoil is really tame on that. A combination of the grip or what, but very tame for a compact 9. I really like the grip on those though, so that could be a good part of it. So we already have these 22 holes here. So these are my 3 shots right here. So this one I obviously pulled, but I was actually aiming 6 o'clock on this. So they are perfect right out of the box, surprising. I'll stand back a little further here and check a few more. Laser rangefinder says 9.2 yards. If you guys want to get yourself a good budget rangefinder, been using this one for years. Link in the description for that. Comes in well under $100, but let's try back here a little further at 9 yards. And I'm gonna go for the dot on the left. Okay. Again, dot on the left. Looks like one of them hit the same hole. I think I hit the top left hole twice. So yeah, it's good to go. It's just low. So that's got a cover hold or a combat hold, whatever you'd want to call it. It's going a little bit lower than where the tip of the front sight is for me. But accuracy is pretty good too. I mean, that's freehand, 9 yards, and these are my first shots. So seems to be pretty freaking accurate as well. I'm loving it so far. I'll get back to the shooting here in just a moment, but I did want to mention, some of you are probably wondering too, because as I said, I just pieced this together. I bought the frame, the upper, the barrel, and the guide rod and spring all separate, put it together. So it did go together pretty much without a hitch. I mean, obviously we're running 100% flawless thus far, so that's very good. But I noticed I had two concerns, one a bigger concern than the other. So when I fit this slide on here, it looked like, I'm going to break this down and show you guys, but it looked like the slide initially, the rails and such in there looked kind of like the front rails were at a slightly different angle than the rear rails. So the slide was feeding on kind of crooked at first, and then I had to push it kind of off to the side to get that to go through that notch there. So I was concerned if that was going to cause me any issues. So far she's shooting beautifully, like I said, but the bigger problem I had, and it's not being a problem out here on the range, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I kept getting a dead trigger just messing with it at the house with it completely dry. As you can tell, it's well lubed now. It's oozing oil out everywhere because I lubed it up real good. My trigger, if a lot of times I'd rack the slide, I'd pull the trigger, rack the slide, and then the trigger would not reset over and over and over again. And then so I tried releasing it with the slide lock, slide release here to where it would snap forward real hard and fast. And doing that method would sometimes reset the trigger and sometimes not reset the trigger. Now again, I don't know if this is because of the fitment issue I had somehow causing this or not. It's likely because you know your trigger reset bar reaches up into your frame there, and your frame rides that, and that's how it resets your trigger. However, if I pulled the trigger, continued holding the trigger in, racked the slide while still holding the trigger, then it reset every single time, like what we're doing out here today. So under a normal firing circumstances, it wouldn't be an issue because it would always reset after you pulled it, you know, racked the slide, and I could feel and hear it reset, and then sure enough, every time I'd let out and go to pull it again, it would reset. But I did want to bring that up, and that may be caused due to that slide being not wanting to feed 100% straight. You know, they mass produce these in you know, mass quantities, and people do this all the time and they build them up. And so I think it's just, you know, they have, I noticed I could move the slide back and forth like a couple millimeters. I think that's by design. They give you larger parameters there. It's got play on purpose, so for things like that way it'll still work, because, you know, especially piecing it together piece by piece like I did, instead of them factory fitting them, you know, there and then shipping it out to you as a whole gun. I'm assuming it's got a little bit looser tolerances because of that. But you know, that's what I noticed at home putting it together, and I'll try that before we close out this video, just doing it without any ammunition in it to see if it worked itself out. So it was doing that completely dry, and then once I lubed everything up, including getting a bunch on the trigger, so it would start working smooth and all that, it did greatly improve. So I'm hoping after putting 100 rounds through it today, and actually I got 90, not 100. One of those was a partial box I didn't realize. I'm hoping everything will wear in to where that's no longer a issue, but we will see by the end of the video. And I can actually go ahead and report back to you guys on that now. I only put 70 or 80 rounds through it in this video, and some of those were actually off camera, did not make the cut. But after the following optic review video, the optic I put on here and reviewed that will be coming out shortly after this video, no longer having any issue with that trigger not properly resetting every single time. So it took about, I don't know, 120, 130 rounds before it worked itself out to where it was no longer an issue. So I guess a little bit of a break-in period. And I'm sure that doesn't happen with 99% of them. You know, I just happened to get one where it was giving me a little issue there for some reason. But they do say if you're assembling one from scratch like I did, that some fitting may be required. So, all right, but we're going to stand behind the camera here, and it's 15 yards to that very back row on those bowling pins, which are actually a little smaller than a headshot. So we're going to see if we can pick those off without missing too much from back here. And while we're at it here, the slide lock, slide release, if you want to use it to release like I like to do, it works great, at least on mine. Super easy. It doesn't get much better than that. So it's real easy to use that to manipulate the slide. Real good serrations. I don't have any problem, getting a good grip to rack the slide. Chambers with this or by racking the slide. As you saw, I usually try to show both on camera there. Mags drop free, so this is light. It is not weighted down with ammo. As you can see there, the mags drop free, no problem. I don't know that is ambi, the mag release there. But breaks down pretty much like a Glock. You got the little, obviously we're empty here, guys. You have a little trigger safety there. And, very reminiscent of a Glock trigger. I want to say it was probably feeling like 6 pounds, when I first got it out of the box, but it's smoothed up a little bit. It's probably like in the 5.5 pound neighborhood, just like a Glock, and it feels pretty much like a Glock too. There's your take up there. Pull through. A little bit of creep, and then the brake. I will say though, the brake is a little more crisp than a block. I mean, they do look like a block, right? A little more crisp than the Glock when it goes off. And then also the reset shorter. Let me capture that for you real quick. All right, then here's the reset. So a little shorter than a Glock. I mean, it felt like a shorter reset to me than a Glock, but watching it there on camera, it doesn't really look like it, so maybe not. So I went on too long here comparing the Dagger trigger to the Glock trigger, but basically the Dagger has a little more take up. It does have a little more crisp break with less creep, and the reset is a little shorter than the Glock. Weight's about the same, maybe a couple extra ounces on the Glock. So overall, I was a little concerned that I might be a little disappointed or let down. I figured this might just feel like shooting something, I don't know, generic. I like it better than a Glock. I've shot Glock 19, Glock 17, love both of those. The grip is more comfortable for me. Now, obviously with the Glock, you get the changeable back straps and whatnot, but I really like the grips on their guns here. I have the Rock 2 with that same texture, and it's freaking awesome. The grip feels very similar to the Rock, but obviously it's a little shorter, being the compact model. But yeah, real good texturing there. It's very comfortable in my hand. I love the grip. So that, again, may be why the recoil feels a little lighter than a Glock 19. Could also have something to do with their stainless steel guide rod assembly there. But recoil is lighter. It feels more comfortable in the hand to me. And I think the trigger is slightly better. And then, I mean, you can't beat that look, because, you can go on there however you want. They have all kinds of options. So, yeah, I was afraid it was just going to be kind of lackluster, but I'm loving it. It feels better to me than a Glock, and certainly looks a lot better. The only thing I don't like is those sights, but again, those are designed to be like a 1/3 co-witness with optic. So I can't wait to get that red dot on here. You guys will see it coming up shortly. It's new by Sealy for the Dr. cut. And then I got another one I got to test from them that's a different cut other than the Doctor or the RMR. I can't remember which. It's not RMSC either. It's one of the other ones. We'll have that coming up at some point. But anyways, I'm a little sidetracked here. I love the thing. So I just would like different sights if it was only going to stay iron sights. But obviously she's built to have an optic on there, and will be set up as such shortly. So if you want to catch that, make sure you catch that optic review. And I'll try to make sure I have the Dagger here somewhere in that thumbnail for that optic. That way it's that one if you want to see more of the Dagger, especially with the optic up top there. But yeah, I love this thing. Even if even take the Glock out of the picture and don't even compare it to a Glock, and the only reason I am is because everyone compares these to Glocks. Even aside from that, just as a compact 9 in general, absolutely love it, especially for the price point, and especially for the price point, the way I can make it look like this. I mean, it only ran me about 4 with 3 mags, so I'm digging it. I'm stoked. Love everything about it except for the sights, but again, those are just co-witness sights, so no big deal there. That'll do it for this one. If you guys want to get yourself any of the products you see me use in the videos, like the rangefinder I mentioned earlier, target stand, paper targets I use, steel targets, and more, links in the description for all that. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next one.